It's another Sunday afternoon, and you're welcome to the Signature Show. I am Vin Martin Obiora, Ilo. Today on the program, we are looking at what actions the government of Nigeria may need to take to alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians with regards to one of its key policy decisions, which came into force on Inauguration Day, 29th of May 2023, which is abolition of the dual foreign exchange rate. Many Nigerians thought that with this bold policy decision by the Tinubu government, that by now we would have seen the Naira get stronger. However, our investigations have shown that for the Naira to get stronger, some fundamental actions need to be taken, and quickly too, by this present regime. Is it right that in Nigeria an individual can walk into a BDC and exchange or buy forex worth more than $500,000 or even $1 million without any documentation or identification or even an explanation of the purpose for the purchase? We are also asking why there shouldn't be a law requesting an individual who wants forex to use a valid ID, a NIN, or BVN to enable authorities have a data of forex transactions in the country, for example, in one day. We spoke to some experts, but before we bring you some of those interviews, let's look at some developments in the last 7 days. Nothing much has happened in the back and forth disagreement between the junta in Niger and the rest of the world. The military has neither left office nor released the arrested civilian president that they have been detaining since the coup took place. ECOWAS continue to issue threats, but it doesn't look like the military there are listening to ECOWAS. Also in Niger, the military government is determined to deal with France once and for all, as they are threatening to physically throw out the French ambassador out of the country if the French authorities refuse to withdraw him from the army. While all this is going on in Niger, the military struck again with another successful coup in neighboring Gabon, bringing to an early end the more than 50 years of the infamous reign of the Bongo dynasty. The country had been sitting on a keg of gunpowder since last week. Ali Bongo Ondimba was declared winner in disputed controversial presidential elections in that country. Meanwhile, leaders of the coup in Gabon on Wednesday named a former bodyguard to the older Bongo, that's the father of the man that was deposed, General Brice Nguema, as transitional president after they seized power. The takeover sparked condemnation from the African Union and alarm from Nigeria over what it calls contagious autocracy in a continent where military forces have seized power in 5 other countries since 2020. Bongo 64, who took over from his father Omar in 2009, was placed under house arrest and one of his sons was arrested for treason, the coup leader said. Back home in Nigeria, newly sworn-in ministers have been making proclamations and trying to chart a new course. From the Aviation Ministry, for instance, Festus Keyamo, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, has suspended the Nigeria Air Project, the concession project and other contracts, stressing that it owes it to the government and Nigerians to give an honest assessment of the whole deal. The minister said the concession and national carrier will be suspended until he is able to brief Mr. President. Keyamo also said that Muritala Mohammed International Airport, NMIA, will be shut down from October 1, 2023 for total maintenance work at the airport. The minister therefore directed all international airlines to vacate the MMIA from October 1, 2023. From Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, the minister, Nyesom Wike, has pledged to deliver a metro line for the nation's capital in 8 months. That's good news. The FCT minister promised to clear the capital city of all encumbrances without sentiment or prejudice to anybody. So many other things have been happening around, but today we are focusing on the challenges of the falling Naira, notwithstanding the government's efforts to reverse it, including collapsing the dual exchange regime on day one. We not only went to the streets to ask Nigerians what they think, we also spoke to some experts And we also spoke to a member of the National Assembly to find out what the government can do, what the National Assembly can see the government do in this situation. We also spoke to an academic on the way forward. But first on our program is the expectations of Nigerians as the election tribunals are concluding work on election petitions across the country. Is a point of worry for many Nigerians.
I expect that justice will be done at the end of the day, because the case of Labour Party, PDP has a case against him. We expect as normal, we have to trust in the judiciary that they will do justice at the end of it.
All the judge, all the lawyer, where they judge the case, anybody where they know say yes, true, say na him win this election, oh, may God help, may they judge the right thing.
My expectation from the Nigeria judiciary is to look at all the evidence provided by the parties. If the evidence given by the parties is genuine and is off to the classic, that will give the parties, that is the opposition's party, to be deliver a judgment to them. The judiciary will do that.
Well, I don't give trust to judiciary because they are part of the government, and the government itself, they are not sincere with themselves. So I don't trust. I don't think judiciary will pass the right judgment. If the judiciary see money, they will compromise. They won't say anything. What about the INEC? So why is it that they are not sincere? If INEC cannot be sincere, do you think the judiciary will be sincere as well?
Court is for everybody. It's for everybody. If you feel cheated, you go. That is the last hope. But I trust Nigerian judiciary. They will do the rightful.
I have confidence on judiciary due to what is I saw on the ground. Because if you look at this last election, in fact, I was surprised when I saw Peter Obi and others that are opposing the president, what do you call it? Ahmed Tinubu. So to me, the winner is the winner. APC is the winner. So that is.
I believe that to some extent the judiciary can do something about it. But whether it can upturn the 2023 election is what I don't know. But I know that there are some states where there's a lot of irregularities. I believe the judiciary will upturn it.
Honorable Boy, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, a lot of Nigerians are concerned that after that major policy decision and statement by our new president, that the dual exchange, which many Nigerians also thought was problematic, had been collapsed. That the Naira will get stronger and our economy will have some kind of breathing space. But it doesn't look like anything very positive has happened. In the contrary, the Naira has become weaker, going up to as far as 950 Naira to $1. What do you think this government should be doing to ensure that the Naira does not fall lower than it is now?
Okay. Once again, I want to thank you for having me on your program. The thing about exchange rate determination has very, very much to do with how much you produce in your country, how much you export, how much need of foreign exchange you have, which is about how much you import. So one, how much do we produce? Our production level in Nigeria is very low. Two, how much do you export, which is the foreign exchange earning? We export very little, and we have a monolithic economy. We export only the oil. And when we say our dependence is on oil, you ask yourself, how much then do we earn from the oil in 1 year? How much does a country like Ireland earn from agricultural produce exports? How much does do other countries far less endowed in terms of good weather, climatic conditions, fertile lands, expansive land resource in Nigeria? How much do they export? They export far more than we earn from oil. Then two, how much do we require the foreign exchange? Because it begins to play between the forces of demand and supply. How much do we need foreign exchange? The dollar, the pound sterling, the Chinese yuan, and so on. We need a lot of it. Nigeria is a consuming economy. Our appetite for consumption is so high. We don't even want to be satisfied with the things we produce in Nigeria. So our appetite is very high. So our demand for foreign exchange is very, very high. So when you demand a lot of foreign exchange and you don't supply, you don't have enough earnings of foreign exchange which constitutes your supply, naturally the price will go up. What happened in Nigeria is that everything turned to the negative when our production of agricultural produce went drastically low. Because you can say our output of oil is fixed in the short to medium term by OPEC quota. It is only in agriculture that you can tweak how much you produce. You can increase it drastically because we have the natural endowments to do so. But we have not done this. And so when we started having the crisis between the herders and the farmers, production of agricultural produce went down drastically.
Went further down.
Yes.
Because it was already down.
It was low, but it went further down. Farmers deserted the farms. At a point, we had come to the point where we were almost reaching a point of self-sufficiency in rice consumption, rice production. That is, we were curtailing the import. We were cutting off up to 500 something million US dollars used to import rice into Nigeria. We were almost cutting that off. But now we reversed again because people were becoming hungry. Prices of food items went skyrocketed. And then hunger was facing everybody. And the government had to start again allowing certain items of rice importation, a certain amount of rice importation into Nigeria. So these are the dynamics that determine the price, the exchange rate of our
our dependency on foreign goods and our inability to also offer something in the international market that will yield foreign exchange for us is part of the big problem.
That is essentially the problem.
Yeah, and you're in the National Assembly, and I'm wondering, yes, I know we have all the trade agreements and trade multilateral agreements and all that. But we are in Abuja, and I've had times I went to Aminu Kano Crescent, where you have the big electronic companies. And if you stand there for an hour and you see what Nigerians are buying, or you go to some of the furniture markets in Abuja and they see the quantity of furniture that are being brought in. And I also understand that to some extent, there are some restrictions on some of these goods. Are you not saying that if those of you in National Assembly make laws that will curtail this influx of luxury goods, because these are not goods that would make people live. You understand what I mean? It's luxury. It's a want. It's not a need. Is it not possible that laws can be made so that laws that would protect our local industry? Because a lot of people are into furniture production in Nigeria, but they're embattled by the cheap furniture that is coming from China, that is coming from Turkey, that is coming from every other place. Is it not possible for us to make laws that can help cut down on these things that are taking away the little foreign exchange that we have?
Okay. Now, I want to say, first of all, you mentioned about being in the National Assembly. Yes, I'm in the National Assembly, and what is going on is a huge concern to every well-meaning member of the National Assembly. It's almost a national embarrassment. That's what it is. Now, what can we do? We can do a lot. In the 8th Assembly, when this crisis between the farmers and the herders broke, I thought we can find a legislative intervention to what was going on. I inquired and I discovered that in places where people achieve very high level of animal husbandry, meat production, milk production, they don't roam their cattle. And so domestication of the animal was the way to go. But when you want to domesticate, there are certain animal husbandry transformation things, plans you have to implement. I championed the plan to transform the animal husbandry system in Nigeria with a view to curtailing and terminating the movement of the herdsmen. It had to involve the transformation of the grass production. It had to involve the fortification of feed. It had to involve the milk production, for, creating the milk parlors. It had to involve artificial insemination of the animals, and so on and so forth. That's a potpourri of plans. Who were the people that will champion this? It was NAPRE, National Agricultural and Animal Production Research Institute, Zaria. I came to the house with a plan. Let us fund NAPRE with a view to transforming the animal husbandry system in Nigeria. We implemented fully the first phase of that plan. If we had continued it in the 9th Assembly, which I didn't participate in, we would have gone very far with that. What am I saying? These herders would have been in one place. You go there, you inseminate their animals. As a matter of fact, as they roam, the meat production reduces drastically because they consume all the food they have, food nutrient, they consume it roaming. So the meat production goes down. The milk production comes to almost zero. So it does us no good. And then they go and confront the farmers, and then the farmers are chased out of the farm, and then we don't produce the crops again, and everything is just in a riotous situation. That is what the National Assembly can do. Now,
in terms of what comes into the country, for the foreign goods, can they make law?
That is to increase the agricultural production by allowing the farmers to remain in their farm. That is one thing we can do to remove the crisis between them and the herdsmen. Now, in terms of bringing in what comes in, there is no reason on earth now why Nigeria should still be importing furniture in the magnitude we do it. Because at a point, certain companies, prominently Julius Berger, and certain other companies at Ogun Axis, Abeokuta axis, in even in the east.
In Benin.
In Benin, Benin was also a furniture hub.
In Oka.
Yes, Oka was a furniture hub. Benin was a furniture hub. Abeokuta was a furniture hub. And then Julius Berger was leading. We should have been able to put a lot of attention towards this direction to make importation of furniture unnecessary. Because right now, furniture importation is consuming a whole lot of our foreign exchange. It is absolutely unnecessary. And again, even if you want to say Turkey people have also achieved a high level of, sophistication in furniture production, why don't they come to Nigeria and set up? We have the wood materials, which is the raw material for this. We have our vast land in forests where they can go and produce the wood. You can integrate backwards. After all, a company like Dangote integrates backwards to sugarcane production, for sugar production. So that's sugarcane produce from the farm for sugar production. You can make these people to come and invest in Nigeria, employ our people, make this importation unnecessary.
What role can the National Assembly play in this?
The National Assembly we can come by way of law making, we can come by way of motion. We can make a law to adjust or amend the sectoral allocation of foreign exchange by the central bank. 2, we can also make, because right now we are back to official and parallel again. As of yesterday, because the rate of exchange of the dollar now climbing towards 1,000 naira per dollar became very embarrassing even for the new government. And they had to move backwards again, kept the official exchange rate, which had moved from 405, it had climbed up to 750. They kept it there, but as of yesterday, it was 775.
So there's still a dichotomy.
Yes, the dichotomy is re-emerging again. Because the government cannot face the embarrassment of what is going on, allowing the merged exchange rate to climb towards 1,000 naira. It is like postponing the doomsday. But the thing they need to do urgently, and I'm happy, the government also proclaimed a state of emergency in agricultural production. I can tell you, for me personally, I think that every hand should be on deck. I have sponsored motions in this particular 10th assembly that are driving what the government is trying to do. For instance, they have proclaimed a state of emergency on agricultural production. It came from when they were trying to determine what is it that they should do as palliatives for. And then when we came and we said, look, reduce the price of food. Reduce the price of food. It is the thing driving the high inflation. And it is the thing tipping the crisis of existence in Nigeria. So bring it down by increasing food production. Allow the farmers to go back to the farm. Make sure that they are secured in the farm. The president now came out and proclaimed a state of emergency on food production, where he accepted that, look, farmers have to be secure in their farms. There has to be guaranteed offtake of output through commodity boards. That supports by way of loans and grants have to be extended to farmers, and that the farming methods have to be improved drastically through extension services, and so on and so forth. These were proclaimed and packaged in what he called the state of emergency on agricultural production. That is the way to go. And within a year, I can tell you, if everybody puts his hand on that, for instance, if I, a legislator, focuses on agricultural production for my legislative intervention, and that's what I have done. Right now, I am creating a poultry cluster within my constituency. That is what I am doing. That is my focus of attention. Apart from giving my people water and a little bit of infrastructural development, my focus of attention is entrepreneurship development and creating sustainable livelihood through agricultural production by making my constituency a poultry cluster. We intend to create at least 10,000 jobs, and then we intend to increase the poultry output, both egg production and meat production in poultry. This is what everybody should be thinking, because we are in a state of crisis. We cannot get out of this. And incidentally, now going to your question, why is it, how is it that the furniture market is booming? How is it, why is it that the electronic market is booming? It is because of corruption. We have to face it head on. There is corruption in the land. Very serious corruption is embedded in our system. Why is it that in a country where a lot of our, the majority of our population cannot afford three meals, in fact 2 meals in a day? Where do people get all the money with which they are buying all the things that you mentioned? Furniture and electronics. Go to the automobile market. Go along Kubwa Road. Go around Nigeria. You see how people are buying obscene cars. Okay. And so on and so forth, when people are facing a real crisis of
that is why I'm actually interested in what the National Assembly, because I'm thinking that the National Assembly has to be intentional about this, understanding the emergency that we are facing. That is is an existential challenge for our country. I'm asking, in South Africa, for instance, you have Mercedes producing. I remember not too long ago when they celebrated, was it the 1 millionth car or something there? Why can't we, for instance, make a law that the electronics producers like LG, Hisense, Samsung should come to Nigeria and establish factories, especially when it gets to some kind of cost threshold, that the monies that are going out? Why can't we encourage some of these entities to come here with, through making laws?
Yes, you cannot legislate people to go and die. You cannot make a law that that LG should file out and go and die in Nigeria. You cannot make a law that Honda should file out and go and die.
How do you mean go
what
and
I'm
die
saying is
in
that
Nigeria?
even Dunlop that was here had gone. And other companies, why are they going? The environment of doing business in Nigeria is very, very hostile and bad. And we can handle it. We can change it. That is the starting point. It's not by legislating people to death or legislating corporations to go and die, because this is a dying field.
So we need
for corporations.
We need to make laws
because of corruption.
That will make,
because
that will make the environment friendly for companies to exist, not just foreign companies, including Nigerian companies.
Yes, it's hostile.
Is the National Assembly doing?
Do you have rules to drive on? Do you have security?
Is the National
do you have what do you have?
No, no.
Do you have? Do you have the? Look at our credit system. I was a banker. Look at our credit system. How much access do people have to access capital for doing business? You don't have any access. Our banks are irresponsible. The banks in Nigeria are totally irresponsible. I was a banker, but I'm embarrassed about the kind of irresponsibility of our banks. They are just milking the people, and they are not helping the economy at all. The banks are the facilitators. They are the energizers of economic development. Without the banks, there's very little the economy can do. But the banks are not helping, and nobody's talking about regulation. I should suggest, I should rather say that the central bank should come down on the banks very heavily. Let them become responsible. In other climes, you have banks handhold little micro companies. Incubate them and then grow them. In Nigeria, it doesn't happen at all.
Yeah.
The Nigerian companies, they lend only to the people who they think are big. But some people who are small sometimes before they become big.
I also want to say they lend to only people that can return the investment in 1 week, in 1 month.
And what do those people do with it? Do they produce anything that we can see?
So,
But the small and medium scale enterprise sector, that's the engine of growth. If we don't encourage them, that's not where we are going.
I'm interested in what you said about the banks. And I'm coming back to the National Assembly again. For instance, I'll give you very, very, very clear instances. The foreign furniture companies operating in Nigeria are suffocating the local market. And I will explain. A guy like, can't even get a loan to buy machinery to automate his production process. You see them still using the saw and all that, going all through that themselves.
No, see, I don't know how much time you have in this program. Let me cut into this background
so that you can help me.
Let me cut in to say that there are things that this government, our government, must confront. For somebody to bring business in Nigeria is the thing that will help us to survive. So you don't you don't give the person any room of incentive. Nothing like an incentive that exists in Nigeria. They tax people to death in Nigeria here. There are multiple taxations. The government does not care.
I need to point out this
the environment
so that
is
I need to point this out so that you can look at it holistically. The point I'm making is that foreign companies come with very subsidized loans from their home countries. Suffocating our industry.
That's it. Because they have
nobody is doing the regulation.
Why?
And I'll give you an instance. A furniture company in Nigeria.
Why don't you try to make because the reverse is the case. If they are bringing these things because they have incentives in their company, create incentive for your own local people. Then you can stop them from coming.
Fine, but we don't have the kind of money they have. Let me explain.
What is the money?
Let me explain. They come in, they sell furniture for 1 million today. And because they have so much subsidy coming from their home government, the next week they bring the cost of that same furniture down by 75%. Of course, there's no way anybody will go and buy the Nigerian furniture when they can get this one coming from outside. And I'm thinking they have unfair,
what we do in Nigeria? What we do in Nigeria, we leave a farmer who wants to produce rice. We leave him to the weather, to the elements. We leave him to go and face the banks. We leave him to go and buy his machinery. We leave him to go and do everything, to go and invest even in research. Somebody wants to be a rice farmer. He first of all invests in research in the high yielding varieties of rice. He produces the seedlings. He does everything. He gets nothing from his government. That is not the way to. Till we realize that for somebody to accept to do business, you must support him deliberately. It's not by accident. You need to give them loans, soft loans, grants of all sorts, just to make them to produce. Because if they don't produce, we continue to die the way we are doing.
The National Assembly has the power to change what you're talking about. What is the National Assembly doing?
I am a member of the National Assembly.
Yes.
Watch me and my trajectory. Watch me the way I'm coming. Watch me what I was able to do in my first tenure. These things are very, very clear to me. We have just started in the 10th. I missed the 9th Assembly. I'm in the 10th Assembly. Within this 10th Assembly, how many motions have I moved?
No, my
motions are now the agenda setter for the government right now.
How do you carry everybody? How do you carry everybody?
You can do so much at a time. You can do so much.
Because it's important that everybody
when the government came with palliatives for fuel subsidy removal, I know what I did. What did I do? I approached the speaker. I said, look, this thing is not the right way to go. Let me do you a memo. Let me do you a private memo so that you let us be informed about how to get about it. He said, no, come to the house with a motion. I came to the house with a motion. That my motion today changed the agenda. The government withdrew their first offer. They withdrew it and then they went and retooled it.
Okay, we're almost running out of time, and I need to bring this to your attention and get your view on this. The way the foreign exchange process happens in Nigeria looks so unusual and awkward when you look at other climes. It's only in Nigeria that I can walk into an aboki shop and exchange $200,000. There's no receipt, there's no documentation, there's no identification of the person that has so exchanged 200,000.
Who are the greatest patrons of the aboki?
No, fine. So
it's government officials.
That's what I'm saying. So
they have dollarized our system, and nobody is saying anything about it.
In Nigeria today,
payments are being made by government officials in dollars in Nigeria here. So
is it right?
It's wrong.
Are we going to let it just go on?
It is wrong. But you have the executive arm, you have the legislative arm. Because the legislature can do so much, but there has to be a cooperation between the various arms of government.
Because you talked about corruption in this conversation. I'm also saying that this loose way of handling our foreign exchange has also made room for a lot of corruption. We hear that a lot of government officials, state governors, and other people, they get allocation, they round trip the money to the BDCs. If we have a legislation from the National Assembly that says that for you to change money, your identity card, what's that other one we use in banking now?
VIN, that's
the number.
No, NIN.
Your
National
name,
Identification Number.
There's the other one about
BVN.
So these are entered in a process that Honorable Abu has exchanged $10,000. He's exchanging another 50. Something that can be activated.
That's a committee of the House we just created.
Okay, good.
That's a committee of the House called Electronic Banking Committee. My friend is the chairman. The committee is just taking off. These are the things they need to grapple with.
Because I think we need to talk to a man like that.
Yes, you will talk to him, you will speak with him. Now, what I'm saying is that if they find a way of tying each person's foreign exchange utilizations per period, using his BVN, using his name, using his all other forms of identifications, and then they make sure that you don't exceed this amount, and that this amount of foreign exchange cannot be given to this particular BVN.
And across the counter.
It can be done. It can be done. It can be done. But let the journey start. But I'm saying there are other things that the government also needs to be doing. They have to focus on production. Production. If we don't produce, we will die.
Okay. I agree with you that a lot of production, not just agricultural production, manufacturing.
Mainly, but it is in agriculture that we have our comparative economic advantage.
There should be a lot of manufacturing. Where, because...
It's when you win the war in primary agricultural production that you now begin to go to processing of agricultural produce, then you now go to automation, you go to build an aeroplane. When you have not fed yourself and you are importing rice, importing cold stored chicken, you cannot be talking about building a car. And the car manufacturers are looking at your roads that are impassable. They are looking at traveling in Nigeria that has become undoable because of insecurity. They are looking at all this. So let the government, as a matter of critical emergency, focus on all this, and first of all, make the environment in Nigeria conducive for people to even come and do business. Why is it that a company like Volkswagen, will go to Rwanda and set up and run away from Nigeria? They were already buying land and doing things to prepare to establish in Nigeria. The environment became too hostile for them. They went to Rwanda. Rwanda, a short while ago, some years ago, had the kind of crisis we had with the herdsmen and the farmers. And they faced an existential crisis. But they solved their problem. And now they have become investment destination for everybody around the world. We can do the same thing here. But let there be sincerity. Let there be sincerity. First of all, in the election of our representatives, of those who govern us. Are they the people we voted for? Can the judiciary do us a favor and call a spade a spade? If we don't do these things, we can only dance around. If we don't bring out the best foot forward, we cannot be stewing, going around, stewing around like as if we are not a serious people.
Honorable, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure.
My pleasure too. Thank you.
That was Honorable Dennis Abo, member representing Ibueze North Udenu Federal Constituency in the National Assembly. What is the view of ordinary Nigerians on the continuous fall of the Naira against the dollar and other foreign currencies? We went to the streets.
We're not a producing country. Most of the things we consume are from abroad. So there's no way our naira can appreciate itself based on our consumption. So our consuming nature must be domesticated, and then the government should make sure that there is most of the things are producing here. They can create environment and then give room for individuals to produce.
In Nigeria today, it's wrong for us to be trading in forex when we have the naira. I think there are some expatriates in Nigeria, some consultants in Nigeria that are being paid in dollars rather than for them to be paid in naira. Whether we like it or not, all these things are going to still have one or two effects on the naira. Most transactions should be domestic currency. Some resident currency should be used for all transactions that are being consummated in Nigeria. But when we have some transactions being traded with FX, whether I like it or not, it has a negative impact on the domestic value, on the domestic currency, which is the naira that we have in circulation.
Have a look here. Look at the cars on the roads. They're all imported. The more you import, the weaker your own currency. So if you go back productivity, produce our own cars, put our refineries to work, build our own roads, the naira will naturally stabilize. So a nation that imports, most of the goods in Nigeria are imported. Some of them even toothpick from China. How can the naira stabilize?
They should leave their personal gains, they leave their personal interests and first the interests of the masses that voted them. We are suffering. You understand? We are suffering. If you even go to the village that they don't even know anything about dollars and see the way they are living, something that doesn't even affect them. But there are some people that are cashing out from this dollar crisis, which is not supposed to be so.
The government has to put up economic policies that will ensure that we'll grow what we eat, then transform the economy or revolve the economy from a consuming economy to a manufacturing economy. So by so doing, I think the over-reliance on dollar would be minimized.
They can look in the direction of agriculture, industrialization, and then they have to make sure our refineries are working. They have to build new modular refineries so that at least they can refine this crude, get other products for export, and then for internal consumption. These are the things that will make our naira strong.
Now let's take our second interview with an academic and former commissioner for budget, Enugu State, Dr. David Okelu Ogunta. I started by asking him what he thought the government can do to strengthen the naira and reduce inflation and suffering of the average Nigerian.
Yeah, I think the timing of removal of subsidy and of scrapping of the dual exchange rates, having them at the same time, I won't say is a very fantastic idea, because we are now dealing with two fundamentals at the same time. Okay, the exchange rate, yes, we agree that there were multiple exchange rates, and there is the need to synchronize it and have one so that everybody can be at par. And then the expectation is that it will help shore up the value of our naira. However, the reverse has been the case. Now, this could be because how much do we earn as foreign exchange? Let's start the question from there, or the conversation from there. We only rely on crude, the sale of crude oil, in order to earn exchange rate. Arguments have shown that in Nigeria, that we import so much and export little, that containers come into, that ships bet in Nigeria, fully loaded, but go out of the shores of this country empty. So what are we exporting? What are we selling as a country in order to earn foreign exchange? Of course, we all know that when you earn multiple income as an individual, you are better off. So I want to liken that to Nigeria. If we had had the opportunity of earning foreign exchange from other avenues apart from crude oil, we would have been better off. Okay? The abolishment of the dual exchange rate has really put us into a position that, some of us are surprised that up till now, Naira has not got to 1,000 Naira, because there were really nothing in place to make sure that, yes, because this thing is like forces of demand and supply. You only distribute across what you have. You cannot distribute what you don't have. Okay, and also the means by which we access this foreign exchange is also a problem. For instance, before I made this trip, to Sweden, I had to source foreign exchange. Okay, I called my bank. I needed to take out dollar. I needed to get euro. But when I called them, I said, look, I need to take out dollar and I need to buy euro. Can you help me out with that? They said no, that they can only give me dollar, and then I'll have to go and look for how I'll get euro. All right, but I don't think that is the right, I don't think that should be a right practice. If I have dollar and as a bank, I should be able to access euro from you. So the policies that has made banks that, yes, we know that the domiciliary account, you can only take out what you have. But I am thinking that the banks should be a financial, when we say it is a financial supermarket, it should play that role as a financial supermarket, so that whatever you need in terms of financial services, you are able to get it from the bank. But whereby you now go to the bank, you take out US dollar, you now go to the Bureau de Change or the Aboki by the roadside to now go and buy euro. I don't think it's a very good idea.
Let me ask, for government, they've poured in some more foreign exchange or some more dollar into the market. And in their thinking, that is supposed to bring down that's supposed to shore up, the Naira. But that's not happening. Is that the only measure they can take to make sure that the dollar is strengthened?
No, but I think they did that as a stopgap measure or as a short-term measure to see what happens. But the truth is that those things are not sustainable. You see, as a country, we need to go back to the roots. We need to, sit down and say, and take statistics. Where are we as a country? Where do we have comparative advantages? What are the things we can do so that we can earn multiple income or multiple revenue as a country in terms of foreign exchange? And then we come down to invest in those things. It's going to take time. It's not something that will happen in 1 year, in 6 months. No, it's going to take time. We need to make investments, and these investments are not going to happen overnight. These are things that will take up to 3 years, 5 years before you now begin to reap the fruits of this investment. So in as much as short-term measures are good, but I think we really need to sit down and say, what are those things we need to produce in this country? And we need to add value to, and we need to export and begin to earn foreign exchange. It's only when we have the supply of foreign exchange outweighing the demand for foreign exchange that we can now begin to talk about shoring up the value of Naira and all that.
I agree with you that there has to be long-term planning. But in the short term, many Nigerians say that the corruption and the complexities around the foreign exchange policies is making it continuously impossible for us to make the Naira strong. One particular area that I've heard people talk about is that it is only in Nigeria and maybe a few other developing countries that you can go to an aboki or to a bureau de change or to a foreign exchange trader and you exchange $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, and there's no record, there's no documentation, there is no receipt, there is no identification of the individual that is buying this foreign exchange. Nobody knows what the person is doing with it. Nobody knows whether he just wants to buy it and speculate. And they say that probably because of this, a lot of foreign exchange not needed for everyday trading, exchanging hands and further, putting pressure on the little foreign exchange that is available. And that this is actually the reason why the Naira, no matter what you do, the Naira will never be strong. Do you agree with that?
Yes, and to give credence to that, I've had two experiences. One was last year. I was coming back from the United States and we are transiting in Frankfurt. And I needed to make few purchases at the duty-free zone, okay? Then I needed to change US dollar to euro. And when I got to the bureau de change there, where I would change it, they demanded for my international passport, a means of identification, as low as $100. I had to present my passport, and they scanned it, and they took record of it, and then exchanged the US dollar and gave me euro, and I was able to make my purchases. This is at adverse with what we have in Nigeria. When the BDCs came on board around 1989 or thereabout, they were there to take charge of small needs of people in terms of small volumes of foreign exchange needs. All right? But today, the BDCs are the ones really now. I can bet you that any amount you want, like you have mentioned, $100,000, BDCs can, commune among themselves and provide that amount of money for you. So this is also at adverse with what we have in the developed clients. Okay, I needed to make a payment in Kron. Swedish, doesn't use, you can't use euro to make payment. And then I now have to get someone that will help me with that payment. And I told him, okay, make this payment. I will send either euro or US. I'll send either euro or US dollar to you. Then, unknowingly, the guy told me, okay, whichever one I sent, that what he's going to receive is the Swedish krone. I said, really? He said, yes, because nobody is going to give you the euro or the dollar. Now, once you pay that money into your bank account, now what you are going to get is the Swedish krone as an end user. I told myself, I said, this is not what it is in Nigeria. In Nigeria, if someone sends euro or Naira to you, you go to the bank will pay out euro or dollar to you. So these are some of the things that I think, by way of legislation, by way of policies, we can begin to bring into our country to see how we help the management of exchange rate. So that if someone pays in money, pays in US dollar or pays in euro to you, what you get is the Naira, and you spend the Naira.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Okelue Ubunta. And that's how we are drawing the curtain on our program for today. Don't forget, for this program and other programs, go to www.signaturetv.org. Follow us on our social media handles. I am Vin Martin Obiora Ilo. Thanks for joining us, and let's do this again, same time next week.